Good to be here. Hi everyone. Namaskara. My name is Sumanth Prabhu and I am hosting We Are You. We Are You is a podcast that brings personalities from all the walks of life who can educate, who can inspire, and who can let us explore. And this is We Are You for every one of you. I've got someone special here from whom I have personally learnt a lot. Madan Padaki is here and he is the co-founder of Megatrack, the first assessment company out of India. He started Head Held High Foundation, which is empowering millions of youth. He is the co-founder of OneBridge. He is the board member of YuWaah from UNICEF, and he was also a board member of Tata Trustees. And I am excited to have this conversation with him because he has so much to share from his life, from his learning, from his experience as an entrepreneur, as a serial entrepreneur, in fact. So let's just dive into the conversation. Hi, Madan.
Hey, Sumanth.
So one of the very reason, even before this podcast began, so when we were sitting in our office and discussing, I didn't tell you one thing. That is the very reason I wanted you here because 2013 I finished my engineering, and when I and Nikhil decided to pursue entrepreneurship, we'll start something. So I used to come to Bangalore. I used to sneak into some of your sessions in Thai. So what happened was our knowledge base was not that great. So because we were just out of the college, from a
Right.
tier 2 college, and what happened was we did not have an exposure to business or entrepreneurship. So Bangalore was the place. From Shimoga, I used to come by train, and we used to attend your sessions in Thai. So that is when we started learning what is fundraising, what is entrepreneurship, what it takes for an entrepreneur to build something, do something. This I'm talking about 2013-14.
Wow.
So and also in one of our Hyderabad bus journey, I told you that when I was raising my first round of funding, so I also took a lot of inspiration from how you raised funding, right? So with all that coming into picture and you being in education sector for almost 20 years now, at
Yeah,
least
almost 25 years now. Yeah.
25 years. So we thought there couldn't be any better to start our podcast with. So thank you very much for accepting, Madan. So
I'm
thanks
delighted to be here and honored to have played a small role in the journey, the super journey that you had at Ulupchu.
Thank you, Madan. Because see, what we believe is, when you're educating, knowingly or unknowingly, people are getting educated. So that is something that we believe in, and of course, you have done that for us also. So I probably, you wouldn't even remember me, coming and listening to your sessions, but you definitely made an impact. So from that perspective, Madan, so what do you think about this non-motive education? That is, without any pay, without any profit in mind. People talk about try to expand their knowledge base, try to teach people. So what is your take on that? How people like you or me or any accomplished person, how should they consider about just casually without any motive educating others?
So, Sumanth, it's an interesting question, and I'm coming back to what we discussed that time. You talked about exploration and inspiration.
Correct.
Your own story is that, right? A lot of youth and a lot of us, probably when we were growing up, would have never even thought that, I should come to Bangalore.
Correct.
I should attend a Thai event. I should do something.
I hated Bangalore.
I'm sure, and that would have been a big bad city coming from the confines of Shimoga.
Correct.
But you took that step. You took that initiative to say, listen, I want to explore. And you never know where inspiration hits you from. Right?
Correct.
2 weeks ago, I was in the valley listening to this fascinating conversation by Jensen Huang.
Mm-hmm.
That 1 hour was like a minute.
Okay.
And it was an eternity because the pearls of wisdom that he had inspired me to know extent. It was fantastic. So if you take the same theme of exploration and inspiration, all of us are every minute, every hour in some exploration or the other.
Correct.
Right? Every time we meet anybody, in a way, the informal education is already happening.
Correct.
Right through this conversation.
Correct.
whether I consciously put it down or not, I'm learning something from you.
Correct.
You're learning something from me.
Correct.
And we are learning something together from the environment around us.
Right.
Right? So the exploration is a very important part of an education. So the question, therefore, is how do you enable youth or kids to explore more?
Correct.
Right? And when the exploration happens with a lot of interest, inspiration is bound to happen. Right? So my philosophy of education, you take at Head and High or any of the other entities that I'm involved with, essentially comes down to the same thing. That if you can be inspired, from that inspiration, you build your own aspirations. So there is the inspiration phase first, and then comes your own aspiration.
Correct.
From your aspiration comes respiration, where you say, now I have to be that.
Correct.
Right? And obviously from that respiration, with a lot of frustrations comes perspiration.
Right.
That's the journey of an entrepreneur or any journey, right?
Correct.
You were inspired, whatever, in many ways.
Yes. So, I mean, that's an interesting take, and especially, about the value that you spoke. So, just few days back, I was reading on LinkedIn that, people, let's say in India, aspire to come to Bangalore,
right,
or let's say Mumbai or Delhi, and they say that, it's better to come to Bangalore, where, 1 year in, let's say, a tier 2 town is equal to 1 month in Bangalore. And there somebody commented saying that, 2 hours in Valley is equal to 1 year in, Bangalore. So is that because I have a reason why I'm asking this, but do you feel that way?
No, I think it's more than the city. It is the people that you're surrounded with.
Right.
Okay. I would think so because of this effect that the brightest mind comes to Bangalore. Obviously, Valley has been the mecca for a lot of the bright minds. It is less about the city, it's more about the people, which obviously is the case, right? The ecosystem here is nothing but a soft ecosystem.
Correct.
Not that Bangalore has any great infrastructure, right? Or compared to the Valley or any other city.
Correct.
So, one part of me says, I agree with you. The other part of me says that, listen, we sometimes don't look for things in non-obvious spaces. I'm sure in a Shimoga then and today, if you go look around, you'll find as many inspirational people as you'll find in Bangalore.
No doubt about it.
Right?
No doubt
and
about
that
it.
is true for every city, every district, every taluka.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
true.
don't look for it.
Correct.
Right? In our minds, there is the stereotype. Oh, only this guy can give me gyan. The amount of learning I've had from auto drivers and cab drivers in Mumbai has been phenomenal.
So you keep talking to them.
You talk to them, the pearls of wisdom they share, the life stories they share.
So do you now, it looks like a digression, but when you go to these different cities, do you still love to catch up this public transport or, smaller way of, commute?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things that I still do whenever I go to Bombay is to take the local from Churchgate all the way to Andheri, where I usually stay. I never miss that. The amount of conversations you can pick up on the train. You listen to people around.
Right.
You listen to their journeys, their lives. Every life is an educational story.
Any one such, conversation that comes to your mind? Which is
Lots,
kind of an inspiration or, that kind of popped up some ideas or some thoughts in you?
Quite a few. I mean, I still remember early days of, this is the common sense side of things, right? So, I was new to Bombay. I studied in Mumbai at SP Jain. The east-west line goes. At 5:30, you get off in Andheri and you are like swarm of people. The same. We were from small towns like Bangalore into Mumbai in 2000 is like...
You'll get lost.
And I did.
Yeah.
So I got hold of one guy and said, sir, ye Andheri east kidhar hai? Or west kidhar hai? Or something like that. He says, upar dekho. I looked up. He says, Suraj kidhar doob raha hai? I said, us taraf. Wahi west hai na? Puchte kyun? I said, it was simple. Logic, we don't think about it.
No, true.
Right?
So, I mean, probably, like, when now, when we look at direction, like, we want, if there is no compass,
we get lost. Yeah. There's
so
no Google Maps.
Google Map, we lost. So one such incident is, there is this, one person joined our company. This I'm talking about 6 years back. So his name is Girish. So he joined us as a office attender. So who is helping us in the entire office, smaller work. So one day I said he had to reach some materials. He had to collect some materials from Bangalore. We were in Mysore then. And he did not have a phone. He had this, the normal keypad phone. I asked him to, go and pick up this material from this address. And he said yes. And I asked him, I'll share you the location. He said, don't share me the location. Tell me the address. The typical way of saying number 401,
correct.
12th main, 4th cross. The typical way of saying. We gave that address. He, effortlessly he went there, picked up, came by bus, came to Mysore without taking more time. So then I asked him, like, how? So he says, it's very simple. What you did, I asked him. I got down in the bus station. I asked few people, which is the 12th main, which is the 12th cross, and I kept walking. That's it. It's very simple. So we actually have forgotten that rudimentary method of, solving the problem.
No, that reminds me of something. My first job out of my B school was in Tokyo.
Okay.
Japan. Obviously, 2000, no maps. It is horribly expensive to take cabs in Japan.
Okay.
I used to only travel by local trains and walk. And the addresses are all in Japanese. Right? And I didn't know a word of Japanese. But I had to still make, and you know how Japan is, you have to be exactly on time.
Okay.
You can't be a minute late. If you're a minute late, it's like a shame. So I still remember, I used to carry a small piece of chalk piece with me. That whenever I used to take a turn to go, I used to make chalk marks on the posts. And I used to follow that back.
So I mean, Japan government, if they had actually used that, probably it would have become Madan Square or Madan map, Madan Road.
But it brings a very interesting point that sometimes I think we rely too much on technology, which I would say we should, but we rely on it in a wrong way to enable us to keep our minds going.
Yeah.
But this native intelligence,
correct.
Sometimes we don't use it.
Sometimes I really feel that technology has handicapped us.
Exactly.
Because
it's a
crutch. Lately I've been observing. I'm as a kid and throughout my, let's say, my learning days and even my entrepreneurship days, I've been very sharp in math. You tell me a number, tell me a percentage, tell me an addition, subtraction, any kind of these things. I'm like, I calculate and
you get it very
give an
quickly.
Answer. Right, approximate answer at least. Now, lately, what I've been observing is I'm not able to do that quick.
Yeah.
Like 5 years back, ago, how quick I was. I'm not that quick in math now. So because that tendency to go to your phone, use a calculator,
exactly,
and do that has actually diminished my way of
your
operating.
Whole muscle memory is gone.
Gone, right? I had this interesting way of performing calculation in my mind. That is, I visualize numbers, spatial numbers. If it is a percentage, I used to visualize a circle. What percentage of this and all that.
Yeah.
Right? That has, to be very honest, diminished a lot.
Exactly.
So lately, I observed and I understood that, okay, this is a wrong thing. I do not want this to happen. So I've stopped using calculator. Tried to make a lot of calculation on my own. Maybe verify again on calculator, but anything comes, so I try to do it on my in my mind itself. So this is how one example. So since I told about my childhood story, so I want to understand, Madan, because sometimes whenever I want to call you or message you, I always think that how do you even distribute your time throughout the day? Because you are part of, I don't know how many, I can't even count how many organization, associations, and your own firms and all that. So, but as a kid, like let's say a 10-year-old Madan, how he was, and how would you introduce yourself, probably being a 10-year or 12-year-old Madan, and how did you learn, how did you adapt some skills that are still being used by you in a large way? So how is that?
So two, three reflections there, right? See, if you look at a larger, I'm coming back from a larger picture and I'll zoom in. I'm just trying to connect the dots in hindsight. Sure. One of the definitions of poverty that I loved the most, is Amartya Sen said it beautifully. He says poverty is nothing but capability deprivation. And
poverty is nothing but
capability deprivation and opportunity deprivation.
Okay.
So basically he says if you bring capability and opportunity together, people will grasp both and there's no poverty. What I'm trying to arrive at is, if you look at the life journey itself, what schools did was to provide capability and provide opportunity.
Correct.
So I used to be 5th standard, 6th standard, I used to act in drama, skits. School gave me that opportunity. I used to be terrified of public speaking.
Okay.
So
that's surprising.
In 8th standard, one of my teachers pushed me to participate in a debate.
Okay.
I still remember that debate. My heart was pounding. I was breaking into sweat. The first debate I went, I stood on the stage. I forgot all my lines. I had completely memorized, written out a 3-minute, 4-minute debate. I didn't even utter a single word. I came back and sat down. And I burst into tears. The teacher
where did you study?
This is in St. Joseph's Brand Square, near City Market.
Okay.
My teacher could have done one of two things. He would have said, "You're a loser. Don't go into debate. It's not for you." He called me aside. He says, "What happened?" He says, "I felt scared." Right? He says, "Okay, next debate you have to go again. 1 month, every day you come and speak to me for 5 minutes." And he did that. And the way I went on the debate, he said, "Don't look at anybody, just look at me because you've been speaking to me."
Correct.
And I did a beautiful 4 minute just looking at him, and I won the second prize or something. And there was no looking back after that. Many times I think, what if my teacher that day had not told me that, had not done that for me?
I mean, you wouldn't have probably, explored that side of yours.
I would have shut it down completely.
Correct.
Right? This is exactly the same thing that we do at Headline. First 15 days, these youth, the rural youth we work with, have never ever been to a school. Many of them have never even seen a blackboard, have never seen an English alphabet. Yet in 6 months, they can speak in a public conference confidently. Why? Because we give them confidence.
Okay.
Right? The first 15 days is fun. We show them all Rajkumar movies and Amitabh Bachchan movies and James Bond movies and say, how do they greet each other? Right? James Bond says, "Hi, my name is Bond." James Bond.
Correct.
So we say, "Hey, you want to be like him? All you have to do is just shake hands, say, "My name is Madan." Look at that person in the eye, you're James Bond.
Correct.
Once they get over that hump, then they flower. So where I'm coming from is that this does not happen in a classroom. It happens because the teacher cares. It happens because at some point of time you also have to push yourself. So after 8th standard, I was like, 9th I was the school captain. 10th was interesting. And
so
when you say
that's a pivotal point as per you, that
I think
8th
that is
standard,
a pivotal
the debate
point.
competition burst out.
Exactly. No,
that changed you.
That changed me, and the several miracles, so to speak. Sometimes you need your own burst of energy. I still remember my 7th standard academically again. 7th standard used to be a government, the diocese exam. Public exam kind of a thing. So I remember that in my 7th standard exams, I was down with typhoid. I had continuously, there was a relapse as well. So I still remember writing the exam in a single room where I was the only guy because they didn't want it to spread. And my mom sitting outside having a bottle of glucose. And I was very certain I'm going to flunk 7th standard, even though I tried to study and all that. So till the last day of the exam, after results, and remember, obviously those days, no net, no nothing.
You have to
decide. You have to go and meet the teacher.
Right.
And the last day I kept dreading to go. My mom said, "Boss, come, if you failed, it's failed. It's okay."
Yeah.
Right? It's not your fault. Go into the school, teachers are saying, "Why did you come all these days? We've been waiting for you. What happened?" "You scored first amongst the entire diocesan schools." Fantastic. I said, no, it's wrong. How can it be? And it turned out that way. And they gave me a 250 rupee prize, which was a lot of money then. I still have that check photocopy.
Okay.
right? That gave me confidence to say, boss, there is something. So where I'm coming from is, it is finally every individual has to discover their own triggers of confidence.
Right.
Once that confidence comes, it's like learning to cycle.
Correct.
Exactly the same analogy, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of us have learned cycling. We have fallen hundreds of times.
Yes.
But if we had given up saying, oh, I can never learn, which many people have,
Right.
they never learned cycling. But the moment you pick up that skill, that trait, there's nothing that stops you.
Correct.
Right? So,
I mean, because you said this, I would also want to share this. I studied in Sagara, so Taluk Center. So and then Shumoga, Taluk Center of Shumoga.
Correct.
And I studied till till my 10th standard there.
Okay.
And it is very, see, when I look at a lot of my friends from the college, with all due respect, see, something that is missing is going and taking that leap of faith.
Correct.
Right? Jumping off the cliff,
operating out of the comfort zone. Yeah.
Correct. So sometimes I keep wondering, how did I take this action? Where did it come from? And whenever I feel that whether I have to take this decision, whether it is too risky, whether it is too stupid, so something that flashes in my mind is probably in my 9th or 10th standard, there used to be a Samskrita teacher for us, Sanskrit teacher in my school. His name is Ganapati Bhatt. So he said he used to teach the subject only for 5 minutes. Rest 35 minutes he used to teach life skills through stories of freedom fighters, stories of great people and saints and all that. So in one of such conversation, honestly, not even exaggerating, he said in Kannada that ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಹದ ಹೃದಯ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಸಿಂಹದಂತಹ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಹೃದಯ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಯನ್, have a heart of lion and be brave. So be brave, have a heart of lion. So that kind of stayed with me.
Beautiful.
Honestly, whenever I am taking any decision, and if I feel that okay, this is too risky and I'm a little scared, I'm just stepping back, even now that word reverberates in my mind, that okay, let's have a heart of lion. So even now, so that means a teacher's role is
massive.
Massive. And the same way, like if a teacher probably talks a negative thing,
correct, it stays with you as well.
Exactly. Right. So I think because why I'm asking is sometimes we think that teachers today, at least not think, I also believe that teaching profession at 70-80% of Indian schools has become a last resort for a lot of people.
Exactly.
So where they're less motivated, and they're less inspired.
But look at the nation building they can do.
Correct.
If it's the other way around, right?
I mean, my teacher, my Sanskrit teacher, probably. I hope he sees this podcast, or I'll share it with him, because he probably never realizes that he has created a company today.
Exactly.
He has played a role in creating a company.
Exactly.
Today, with about 250 people working at 200,000 students.
Absolutely.
Every single day. So probably he wouldn't realize that, but that he has played a part.
100%. And that's true for. I'm sure this story will be there in every person's life.
Correct.
Right? Somebody who's inspired them.
Correct.
Yeah. So
I was asking the previous question of
time and
the valley and India comparison. Why I was asking that was also, in my apartment, where I stay, I keep walking in my apartment, and I see these kids, probably 5th, 6th standard kids. They talk about going to foreign universities. So universities in UK, universities in US. So they keep talking about it. Whenever I peep into their conversation, so play my ears. So I hear this conversation a lot. And when I also ask about some of my colleagues and friends about what do their kids want to do, so this has become the priority now, to go to a foreign university and study and all that. So how do you see that, Madan? Because you are one of the flag bearer for the entrepreneurship ecosystem developing in India, being the president of TIE and being associated with government in a lot of different ways. So you always constantly promote entrepreneurship in India. So how do you see that? I mean, if a large part of our coming generation aspires to just go out of the country, how do you see that?
See, so I think, well, that is there. I see it slowly shifting.
Hmm?
There are, maybe it was true the time we were there. I mean, my entire batch, a lot of them went out,
Okay.
right? I was one of the few guys to stay back in India. That continued for several years. I think now, if there is anywhere there is excitement, energy, innovation happening, possibilities of massive change, it is here.
Fantastic. In
Right?
India.
I think students also are slowly getting that. Of course, the US, European universities have phenomenal infrastructure, which is slowly catching up here. Some of our best schools
Correct.
are no different from a school in US. They have fantastic faculty who behave the way that we were talking about,
Correct.
right? I think that is something that we are building up. We need a long distance to go to really create enlightened faculty. Third, the industry interaction in the US is very, very intense.
Yeah.
Research, innovation are a continuous flow, right? Again,
Correct.
that's building up here now. And lastly, opportunities with the ecosystem.
Right.
Even now, I mean, forget a Bangalore, there are wonderful ecosystems developing in a Bangalore, in Shimoga.
Right.
I'm sure Shimoga is vastly different from 10 years ago when you were graduating.
I barely recognize now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think these are all positive changes. What we should do is we should accelerate these changes faster enough
Right.
so that there is no reason for any, on their choice, that's fine.
Yeah.
But no young student must say, oh, I am going to the US because I don't have a choice here in India.
Right.
There are many
Right.
choices coming up, will come up faster.
Aspiration is different, compulsion is different.
Exactly.
Right.
It should not be because there is nothing here.
Correct. Correct.
It can be, I choose to go, that is fine.
Right. No, I mean, I completely believe in that. So, Madan, I mean, your chronology also, I was discussing a long 25 to 30 years of, entrepreneurship journey and, non-profit journey, impactful journey. So, let's start from the first, which is Merittrack.
Yeah.
So, Merittrack, assessment platform, assessment company.
Yeah.
I mean, that long back, how did you think that assessment is going to be one of the major features of education or employment also?
Yeah.
How did you come up with that idea and how did you nurture it?
Yeah.
And how quickly you grew and you also sold it to Manipal, right? I mean, you sold it to Manipal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the very thought of how did you think assessment is going to be the future? So that long back.
Sure.
And if I'm not wrong, you were the first ones to
Yes.
do something on assessment.
Yes, we are the first assessment company.
Right.
But before that, Sumanth, there's a very interesting point you asked, and I want to go back because
Sure.
I think there's an interesting learning point there. You're asking about distribution of time
Correct.
and how you manage to do
Correct.
multiple things, and I think that answer is connected to what we just discussed.
Hmm.
So interestingly, in 10th standard, I was the school captain. I was the tennis captain for the school team. I used to play competitive tennis. I used to play state level tournaments. I was the president of a youth association called Young Students Movement, where we used to do a lot of social work in the slums of Bangalore.
Wow.
And we had, it was a national organization. I was the president for the Karnataka chapter. I used to attend 2-3 camps annually.
This is in your school days.
This was in my 10th standard.
10th standard.
I was the president of another association of Bangalore schools called Deepika Children's League. I was in the debating club, drama club, and the quiz club. And obviously, parents were like saying, "What the hell? When will you find time to study? What's
Right.
going to happen in 10th?"
Right.
All the stuff.
Right.
But they didn't push me too hard to say stop everything.
Okay.
That excites me when you say, "Hey, in the larger scheme of things, you're doing Headed Eye, One Bridge, game, this, that."
Yeah.
For me, I see it as one whole. These are just vehicles for me.
Correct.
Right? I'm
Connected
taking
to one purpose.
One purpose.
Right.
And my purpose is, how do you empower youth? How do you energize them to be entrepreneurs? How do you impact them to be change makers?
Yeah.
To do that, there are multiple vehicles.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
And in a day, I will, depending on the situation, I choose which vehicle will I want to ride today.
Right. So because you said this, I also, our previous question is still pending, but still I want to intervene here. So in terms of numbers, if I talk about how many lives you impact through Head Held High and One Bridge and also Game. So how many lives in a year that you impact?
Tough question, yeah. So
an approximate number.
I don't know, maybe in the order of magnitude of 50,000 to 100,000 people.
And all towards majorly employment.
Majorly youth empowerment.
Yes.
Finding them career paths, building them with confidence, and enabling them to be change makers in their communities.
Right. And also you spoke about one statistic, one number that, through One Bridge, what is the amount of business the youth are generating.
Yes.
The rural,
Yes.
Youth are generating.
Yes.
That number literally, gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, because, if one company can create that amount of business
Yeah.
out of the people
Correct.
who otherwise probably would have settled for a
Exactly.
very low-key jobs.
Exactly.
So, what is that number?
No, so we on a month annually so far, if you look at the last 7 years of One Bridge, we would have generated over about 120 crores of income for youth in rural.
That's massive.
Right? Especially deep rural, and this is way beyond minimum wages.
Yeah.
Right, so they earn anywhere between 15 to 20,000 rupees per month because of the work we do. We've doubled incomes of several small kirana stores, thousands of them, over the last 7-8 years. So I think finally it is, and more importantly, I think it's the dignity.
Correct.
Of course, there is the monetary part, but the confidence and the dignity that comes by saying, yes, I am capable to do this. That I can live life with my head held high.
Correct.
It is a very powerful.
Definitely yes.
Which will change generations to come.
Definitely yes.
I mean, we work with. We recently we partnered with Taj Hotels, and we've trained about 11,000 people over the last few years for them.
Okay.
And all of them have got jobs. Interestingly, 70% are girls. Almost all of them come from households that earn less than 40,000 rupees per annum. Can you imagine the poverty they live in?
Per annum?
Per annum, per household. Their monthly income is about 3,000 to 4,000 rupees.
40,000 per annum?
Per annum. And because of our intervention, their daughters earn 4 times that much in a month.
Fantastic.
Right? That changes the whole life.
And this is a huge impact, right? So
Massive.
I believe in there's a one simple idea, would have changed how many households.
Exactly.
So fantastic, Madan. So even now I'm honestly very inspired with the impact that you're creating.
No, I think that's what gives you a good night's sleep every night.
Yes.
Something that you've done the whole day.
Correct.
Just moved the needle a bit.
Correct. So let's come back to Meritrack assessment as a technology.
Yeah. So Meritrack was an interesting idea. See, again, it comes from wanting to be out of the comfort zone. I was in a good job. I was in Japan, earning a decent amount of money. But when you came back to Bangalore, when I came back to Bangalore in 2000, realized that every joker I knew was trying to do a startup.
This is when? 2000. So even in 2000, that vibe was there.
That vibe was here in Bangalore because of the .com boom. It was a small group, of course.
Correct.
We're a group of 100, 200 people, whatever. Right?
Right.
Very small group. But you hear stories,
right,
of somebody starting off, somebody funding small amount.
Correct.
Mindtree was a big, 7
yes.
people got out of Wipro. I was an ex-Wipro guy.
Right.
I knew some of them. So then you realize that if I don't do something now, I will miss. One of the things is, what is the idea? Not that internet was still very early days.
Correct.
Right? We had discussed a few ideas around internet, too early days. I think this multi-exposure helps you to connect the dots. And to me, connecting the dots is one of the most important skills that I believe in. So just as an example, how the idea of Meritrack came through, I went meeting people saying, "Kuch idea do yaar, I want to do something in Amadbekanta."
Okay.
Lots of ideas. I met a friend of mine who said, "Boss, he was running a financial services software company." He called me to say, "Why don't you start a division which is non-financial services?" I said, "Tell me what it is."
Okay.
He said, "We've been approached by a large multinational to build a data bank of questions.
Huh.
I said,
Okay.
why would anybody need a data bank of questions? He said, no, this company is testing people apparently. And they are using Excel sheets, but they are not sure which question is repeating.
Right.
So they just need a software to help them identify which question to put where. I said, how complicated is that software? You can write it in Foxpro or whatever in a few days. Uske baad kya hoga? He said, no, you build the business. I said, it looks like too small an idea. Right? I forget it and said, not going to work.
Okay.
3-4 days later, there was a NASSCOM McKinsey report, which came out all in the papers, that Indian IT BPO industry will grow to 1 million people. By 2000, there were less than 100,000 people. So a 10 times growth. Right?
By
2010.
2010. And it did happen.
It went much beyond.
Much beyond.
Right? But that was a big, because I came from that industry, I was saying, wow, this is going to grow so much. And that was the Y2K boom. Right? Another week later, I was going past St. Joseph's Indian High School, saw a board which says walk in for Infosys, and prior to my MBA, I had worked in Infi for a brief. I don't know why, I just stopped my scooter, went in, met an old HR friend of mine who was running around helter-skelter. There were some 1,000 kids who had come that day to give an exam, the Infosys test. And this guy said, boss, we had to hire some 3,000 people this year. From this 1,000, I'll get only 100 people because my test is so strong. You know, I had also given an Infi test then. As I was walking out, that's when the penny dropped to say, listen, if this guy is so harried, if NASSCOM McKinsey says that 1 million people have to get hired, and this guy says 1 in 10 is the ratio, which means somebody's got to test 10 million people.
Correct.
HR is currently doing it, but this guy was lamenting about how his Sundays are gone, how he has to work weekends. That's when I said, it's just not a software that is required. What we need is a full service. So what if we created a service that we go to HR guys and say, we'll take care of your testing, we'll do the test, we'll create the test, we'll do scientific methods, we'll create the paper, we'll roll it out, we'll organize it, and we'll hand over the results to you. And that we wrote down as a business plan. And what we wrote way back in 2000 is still valid today. Meritrack so far continues as a fully owned subsidiary of Manipal.
Right.
We might have tested more than 60 million people so far.
60 million. Okay. And I mean, interestingly, right, so assessment even today is one of the key factors in the entire learning cycle of not just the guys who are going to get employed, but even the school going students.
Exactly.
So today, you know, when we go to schools and, you know, whenever I meet any school owner who also wants a, let's say, a degree college, a graduation, you know, branch, right? The first question he asks is, do you have any mechanisms to assess my children and say, he's good at this, he is good at this, he is good at this. So we can lay a perfect career path for him. Right. And also it gives kind of a, you know, idea or a path for us to, you know, invite what kind of companies to our campus. So, I mean, you had thought about that about 25 years back. So that's fantastic. So, so Meritrack happened. And also, you know, Madan, why I'm asking this question is, you know, one of the podcast, you know, major objective is inspiration. And I also believe that now the kids are extremely smart. I mean, the young minds today are much smarter, much sharper, and much shrewd compared to how I was or how you were.
Exactly.
Right. So that is what I believe. Somewhere I also feel that there could be one thing that could be lacking, which is that you know, taking that you know, one step forward. That, you know, leap of faith, say, okay, let's do it. What could go wrong possibly? Right. So that is something that I feel is still lacking.
Correct.
So that's why I asked you to tell your story of Meritrack, because so the audience also can listen to, you know, how just one simple idea, through a simple idea, you created the first assessment company in India. Right. Fantastic. So next comes, you know, I'm also very curious. I mean, being a capitalist or an entrepreneur, impact, definitely we all look at impact, so there is no doubt about it. But at the same time, I mean, investing your considerable amount of time into an organization or an idea where, you know, you don't think of a profit, but, you know, creating value for society or people. So that is head held high. Right. How did that come out? And what made you think that, you know, you should think beyond just money and business and your personal wealth.
Right.
So how did that happen?
So a couple of things there, Sumanth. One is, of course, with the success of Merittrack, and we got Manipal in as a strategic investor, and finally Manipal acquired Merittrack.
Right.
At least coming from the lower middle class backgrounds that we all do,
Yes.
I realized that, listen, God has been kind enough to give me some money, which could potentially last me a lifetime. Okay, with the frugal backgrounds that we come from.
Yeah.
So it freed me up to say, what would I do if I took money out of the equation? Okay, that was one part of it. Two, I think there is a divine path that is already being laid out for us. I happened to meet somebody again through Thai, which is why I have a lot of love for Thai, because that's a fantastic place to meet people who are trying to build a rural BPO. They came to me for help because talent, BPO, we had done millions of people.
Right.
And I asked them the question, so where will you find these youth? Obviously, nobody is going to go from Bangalore to Koppal or Sagara to do a BPO work.
Correct.
As it is, there's enough demand here. Said, why don't we train rural youth? That's when I fell out of my chair laughing to say, boss, how will you ever train such youth?
Correct.
Right? Is it possible at all? They said, let's try. So, well, 99.9% of me laughed. 0.1% said, what if?
What if?
Right? The leap of faith.
Yes.
These guys went to the villages of Karnataka looking for the most unemployable youth. And we said, well, we're at it. Why don't we take the most unemployable youth? Who's 18 years of age, never been to school, never held a pencil in their lives. Is it possible to teach them English and help them to do BPO work? Several villages they went looking for youth like this. At that time, if you remember, there used to be this scam of kidney harvesting.
Yeah.
So many villages thought that they've come to steal our young people, take them to Bangalore, strip them of their kidneys and send them back. Right? But we found 8 boys and girls, 6 boys, 2 girls, who took their leap of faith, said, as I'm willing to come to Bangalore. 6 of them had never been to school. We put them up in a house in Bangalore. We hired a BPO trainer and said, teach him English. The BPO trainer vanishes during lunchtime. He says, are you crazy? I mean, this can't even recognize A.
So this is in real. So
Real.
he vanishes.
He runs away. He says, these are all hooligans.
Okay.
How will I ever teach them English? Anything.
Okay.
So my partners literally started living in with them, figuring out a way to teach them. And they figured out this whole process of confidence and learning. When I met these kids, I was traveling insanely during that time. When I met them after 6 months, my life changed because each of them had flowered into a confident youngster who could speak very confidently in English, no grammar. It is just that confidence.
Correct.
They could type at 40 words a minute. They could do math, etc. In fact, from the 9th month, we got insurance claims processing from a large insurance company. And in 12th month, we were meeting the metrics that the Mumbai office was doing out of Koppal.
Fantastic.
That changed my life because I said, if this is the potential, how wrong we are to label somebody as employable, somebody as non-employable. Everybody has the potential.
Correct.
Right? And that said, once I discovered that, then you realize that there are millions of young people out there who can be potentially transformed.
Correct. I mean, fantastic. So, the Head Held High is how long now?
It's 15 years now.
15 years. And in 15 years, you have kind of trained at least
easily about 100,000 people.
100,000. So that means 100,000 people are employed.
Yes. And at massive and employed, interesting part is it's just not employment. We actually did a longitudinal study. In fact, one of our trainees from 2011, Cowherd from Koppal, is now in the same town, Koppal. He's the chief operating officer of a 60-bedded hospital.
Fantastic. And what could be his earning today?
Oh, he's easily at about 1 lakh a month.
I mean,
earning 5 rupees a day 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Interestingly, I have a friend in Koppal, so who is in the political zone. So I was having a discussion with him just about 1 year back, and he was telling the daily wage in Koppal, even today, if the daily wage is just increased by 10 rupees, it's a celebration there.
Exactly.
It's a celebration. Same place that you're talking about.
Exactly.
10 rupees increase is a celebration.
Exactly.
And he was saying that, this is the state of the people here.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, 10 rupees today,
there's no value.
10 rupees
the value
a
there.
day
Exactly.
into 30 days is just 300 rupees.
Exactly.
which probably we would not even
But-
order in Zomato.
But if you're earning only 3,000 rupees a month,
Yeah,
imagine 300 rupees is 10% of your annual
10%,
of a monthly income.
correct. But what I'm saying is even that 3,000 wouldn't probably suffice in this
Exactly.
and where aspirations will not be there.
Exactly.
So but what you have created is fantastic that way.
No, I think that's the power of aspirations, power
Yeah.
of confidence, power of talent. So that's what keeps me awake every night, saying that there is millions of youth, not just in India, globally, who have this potential. Professor Yunus told it so beautifully, Mohammed Yunus,
the Nobel laureate,
He said,
Bangladesh, right?
I mean, I was very inspired by him.
Yeah.
Interacted with him quite a few times. He says a lot of us die without knowing what treasures lie within. So if we can uncover the treasures,
Correct.
we can live a far more fulfilling life.
I mean, I was honored to receive an award from Mohammed Yunus.
Oh, lovely.
In 2016, our company was awarded as Taikon 2016 in Hubli by
Oh,
Tai
wow.
Hubli.
Wow.
And just a reference to that. So I'll tell you one incident. How that event probably has changed our path for at least for that year. Is 2016 was like we were still crawling and fighting for.
I remember being at the Deshpande dialogue.
Deshpande dialogue. Correct, exactly.
Correct.
So that was one of the worst times. I mean, we had a lot of worst times. That was probably the small, not the worst, probably worst times. So there, we had no money. We had to service some schools. We had to supply some materials, but we had absolutely no money. And we didn't know how to do it. And this competition came from, to my email box that there is some competition, business plan, business presentation competition from Tai Hubli held at Deshpande Foundation. So I thought, okay. And the prize amount was crazy. It was 5 lakhs for the winners.
A lot of
5
money for a
lakhs.
startup.
2016 for a startup, it was like crazy. I was only thinking, okay, what if I go and win there? So that's the only thing that was there in my mind. But also sometimes, right? So it sounds too good to be true.
Correct.
5 lakhs, you have not seen it.
Yeah.
So I just went there and presented. And at the end of the day, yes, we were the winners. And we were the winners. And our Geeta Ramurthy was one of the juries there. And I met wonderful people in that particular event. And yes, I won. We got this, the big, the artificial, the placard check. Okay, we got the photo. And yes, Mohammed Yunus was the one who presented all that. We still have the photo in our office.
Wow.
Here. So, but what happened after coming back from that event, so even after a week, 10 days also, the money didn't get credited. So we were like panicking because we wanted that money. And we kept following up. Of course, I mean, Deshpande Foundation is a fantastic foundation and TAI fantastic. But of course, it takes time.
Time to process.
And all that, right? So, but we were in a hurry. Like we wanted immediately. So then, one day, the school kept pressurizing and Nikhil said, okay, I'll just, remove my gold chain. I'll put it there. We'll just get money and do something. So actually, Nikhil went to a jewelry shop also in Mysore. So
Wow.
he kept his chain.
Wow.
At that time, I got a mail from Naveen Jha,
Naveen
then
Jha, who's the CEO
of
of the
Deshpande Foundation, saying that Sumanth send the bank account and all that. We'll send. Immediately called, come back with the chain. So next day, the 3 lakh got credited. So it was the 5 lakh, but it was distributed with 3 winners, and we got 3 lakhs. So, but because of that event, I met Geeta Ramurthy and Naveen Jha and the multiple people I'm still in connection with.
Beautiful.
So it's all that,
It takes one miracle to
change lives. So that is one incident,
Lovely.
which I can think of, when you named Mohammed Yunus.
Yeah.
So I have another question. How would the youngsters today who are studying in schools and colleges should see this? What should be their perspective on the impact while still they not compromising on their comfort and aspiration?
Absolutely. See, I don't believe that there's an or world. You can either make money or do impact. You can either be a capitalist or you can be a socialist, whatever, right? I think life is a lot of shades of grey.
Right.
It's a lot of combinations. It's an and. The beauty of the and. It's a tough intersection to find. How do you find that intersection of doing good, feeling good, and making good money.
Right.
Right? And today, take healthcare as an example. If you are an innovator in healthcare, you are doing good,
Correct.
you feel good because of the impact, and you will make good money.
Right.
I mean, your example itself, Ulipsu, is a fantastic social, I would call it as a social enterprise.
Right.
Because you've built an enterprise, you're generating massive revenues, you've created employment for 250 people.
Right.
And their families. But you also impacted millions of students.
Yes.
Right? So, I think there are models very much there. It just we'd have to find, seek it hard, and it will happen.
Yeah, I mean, do you think parents also play a crucial part in terms of instilling this thought process in the kids today?
I absolutely think so. See, essentially it comes from two things, right? One is compassion, right? How do you look at the world around you? How do you know what's happening, right? Can you feel that tug to say, listen, I want to change something, and ask the question, why should it be with this compassion? If you couple it with curiosity,
right?
That is the creative spark, where you start thinking solutions. So I think if you take that compassion, marry it with curiosity, creativity happens, and from there you create.
Yeah. No, why I'm asking this is because I mean, I interact with a lot of parents, and very rarely I meet parents who talk about how can my kid create impact.
Correct.
So mostly the conversations are around how can he get into that college, college, what he should do to become successful, which job earns more money, what do you think is the best job out there today, best career out there today.
Right.
Most of the conversations are around that. So when I also give parent orientations, I tell them have you ever spoken to your kid about what they really want to create?
Exactly.
So what is their inner desire in terms of impacting?
Yeah.
So that is where I was asking, as a parent, probably how any parent can think of a way to teach their kids to become aspirational plus impactful.
Yeah. See, I think it starts with the intent. Many
Yeah.
times I think you need far more parent education than children education.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe
Kids
that.
will figure their way out.
Yes.
Sometimes we as parents are the stumbling blocks for a lot of our kids. And I'm speaking as a father of a 15-year-old, right?
Correct.
And a 7-year-old. Two, I think there are opportunities everywhere, right? Even a 13-year-old kid going and volunteering with an NGO for a few days a week or a month is an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes we don't encourage or we don't create those experiences. So if we look around, there are lots of possibilities of doing that. And there are hundreds of NGOs which are happily taking young people.
Yes.
Right? And creating those experiences.
Correct. In fact, in our office in Mysore, so what we do is, we because we create content for kids, right? So our early test subjects are the kids.
Correct.
So we launched this that any student, any kid of let's say 6 years to 16 years, if you want to just spend your time well in an office environment, so please come down. So about 30 to 40 kids come there.
Lovely.
They just watch they use our platform. They give instant feedback of what is right and what is wrong. So that is how we test run our product. So Madan, so there is again one more question. So a father of 15-year-old and a 7-year-old. So yes, I mean, when you were a kid, you probably just go out on the street and play, and the freedom then was a lot different. So even for me as well, right? So I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and he was saying that he got his son to the office, and he had to kind of take 1 hour break to drop him back to the home and come back. And he came back, I asked him, and he was very he was just thinking, and I asked him, what is that you're thinking? He said, at that age, at the age of my kid, that is about 10-11 years, I used to take these buses, the city buses, to go to my home. I never would have depended on my father to drop me. Right? But today, forget my kid whether he is ready or not. I am not ready.
Exactly.
Right? So are we kind of creating a very sophisticated boundary around around our kids that they are quite afraid to kind of test and fail and go and explore? Yes, there are always a bunch of kids who explore,
Correct.
but as a whole, as an ecosystem, let's say parent ecosystem, has it changed drastically? How do you think as a father?
No, it's a question that I think about quite often, Sumanth. See, I think what has also made it more anxious is technology itself. I mean, we didn't have any mobile phones.
Nothing.
We had no phones.
Yeah.
I used to go to tennis matches everywhere, take a bus and go in the morning, come back in the night, right? My mother used to, I mean, there's nowhere to communicate. Right. Today, we send our son every 5 minutes. I'm calling him to say, where are you?
Correct.
How is he? And that builds an anxiety in him.
Correct.
Unfortunately, the world has also shifted quite a bit.
Yes.
Right? It's not as innocent as it was. So,
dangerous,
but
in fact.
it's become more dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So, I think it's a combination of few things, but I think we should create safe spaces where we should allow our kids to fail. Not preempt that every step of the way, because from failures comes learning.
Yeah, can you probably tell from your experience of how did you create that space where your kids could fail, probably
So,
one incident?
No, I mean it's a tough one because as a parent you always care, right?
Correct.
Every time I hold myself back when I have to give him advice, don't do this. I know that it's going to be hard.
Right.
It's natural for me to say, "Hey, madbadappa ido
Yes.
anta." But I sometimes hold myself back to say, let him do. As long as it results in something which is not working, or he's going to learn, it's okay as long as the boundaries are clear.
Correct.
Right? It could be a way to interact with somebody. I mean, kids get into fights with one another. It's very natural for parents to intervene and say, I'll talk to him, I'll talk to her. Right?
You don't do that.
No, so it was interesting. So my daughter came crying saying that another kid in my apartment beat her up and all that. My wife Rupa said, no, what? So she came and said, no, you talk to her mom. She said, no, you go. You tell the complaint to the mom. You have a discussion.
Right.
And you should come back with that kid back to home to have a chocolate.
Fantastic. Okay.
And she said, no. But after a while, she went, had a chat. She got a chocolate. She got this kid back saying he's my best friend now. And they had a chocolate together. So, if as a parent I was overprotective and said, how can that kid hit my daughter and I will go and fight, this learning would have never happened.
Correct. And this learning probably will stay with her for a lifetime.
For a long time to come.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think sometimes we end up being too overprotective and we bring all of our baggages. That happens in careers.
Correct.
I mean, I'm part of Lodestar, which is a career counseling entity.
Correct.
We see parents who are superimposing their desires and aspirations on the kid, right?
Yeah.
The kid says, I hate math. I was witness to a conversation where the parents are saying, I'm a maths graduate, mother is a maths graduate. How can you hate math? Because he hates math, simple.
A more common situation is, I'm a doctor, mother is
a
doctor.
How can you be an engineer?
Yeah,
or how can you be something else, right?
Yeah.
So I think we end up putting a lot of pressure
Correct.
of our own fears, aspirations on the kids and don't allow them to be who they are and what they want to be.
Right.
It's a tough one because we obviously care the best.
Correct.
We want the best. But I think in trying to do the best, we end up doing more harm.
Right. So because I read some of your columns where you related Bhagavad Gita to entrepreneurship and all that. So I think you spoke a lot about these philosophies.
Correct.
And even Karmanyavadikaraste. So
absolutely.
So all this. So I've quite read your columns that way. And I always, it always kept me thinking, that, a lot of things that we do today can probably be, a lot of problems that we get today can be solved with very grounded thoughts.
Exactly.
That have been passed from generations.
Yeah. And we end up sometimes overcomplicating our own lives.
Right.
Yeah.
So, finally, Madan, about, TIE. So you are the president of TIE Bangalore, and where you are nurturing entrepreneurship. So I'm a charter member of TIE, and been sneaking to your sessions in TIE since a decade. So now I would also want to ask you, today NEP, National Education Policy, or whether it is CBSE, circulars, anything that we see, they focus a lot on finance and entrepreneurship. They say teach finance, teach entrepreneurship as early as possible. Maybe from class 5, class 6 onwards.
Correct.
Itself, you teach them.
Correct.
Right. One of our endeavors is also to create such strong content and curriculum where students can really get hold of entrepreneurship and financial awareness right from the age of, let's say, 10. Right. So, and you being a creator of such a large community through TIE, where entrepreneurs actually celebrate. So that's actually the theme now.
Yes.
Celebrating entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So how vital it is for schools and for children and for parents, all three of them, schools, children and parents, to see entrepreneurship as a very necessary element that the young minds today to pursue. Whether they become entrepreneurs or not is a different question altogether. There is no force there.
Exactly.
But how important it is for everybody to be aware and think in that perspective.
So, about 400 years ago, 200 years ago, mathematics was considered as an elite science, elite art.
Correct.
Only a few people, in fact, I was reading somewhere that there were people in Europe who were called abacists who could just help you count. And people went to them with, it was Francis Bacon who said, hey, mathematics needs to be democratized. Mathematics is a skill that everybody needs to have. Today, we don't question why are you learning mathematics. Mathematics is a life skill. Right? I believe the same thing for entrepreneurial thinking. The world today thinks that only a few are entrepreneurial, the rest are not. But to me, an entrepreneurial thinking skill is a life skill. I don't think any one of us have a choice to say, I can think entrepreneurially, I can't. Everybody must think. Now, whether I choose to be an entrepreneur or not is a secondary choice.
Correct.
Right? Not all of us who studied mathematics are mathematicians.
Correct.
Right? Similarly, entrepreneurship is a life skill. Entrepreneurial thinking is a life skill. I believe that it's one of the most critical life skills because it helps you to live in an ever-changing world. It helps you to make sense of the world. It helps you to connect the dots. It helps you to be a problem solver. Right? So it's a critical 21st century or 25th century skill. And therefore, it should be taught early on. Right? We start teaching maths from LKG.
Correct.
Right? 1 plus 1 equals 2. I believe that every kid must go through an entrepreneurial journey of a thinking journey right up to graduation. Right? And then you figure out what I want to do. Right?
Correct.
Especially with AI, with the world changing what it is, with gig economy, blah, blah, blah. I think the world will be far more entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Going forward. And anybody who has a better entrepreneurial thinking will thrive.
Correct. So when you say entrepreneurial thinking, it is problem solving, design thinking.
Exactly. Innovation.
Reading data.
Yeah. Making sense of the world around you, interacting with people, understanding customers.
Correct.
Understanding empathy to the world around you.
Right. So, having said that, so one challenge, as a company that is probably, working on this every single day, one challenge that we face is always, why is it important? As you rightly said, entrepreneurial thinking. So that is going to be the future, like,
Correct.
How math was.
Exactly.
So that's the stage of entrepreneurship today. Right. So we always, try to recommend and teach people. So for example, I'll tell you a conversation that I had with a school. So I was discussing with the school that have a platform and you can learn about 17 different skills in your school.
Right.
So and they said that Sumanth, we want to teach only the basics because we want our children to become good citizens only. So now what happens? A lot of schools, because I work with a lot of schools and all category of schools, and what I see is a majority of schooling still thinks that the fundamental duty is only for the FLN, the Foundation Literacy and Numeracy.
Correct.
Where you basically should not think of anything else.
Sure.
Right. So I come across with schools where computer education is in books, but they don't have computers.
Exactly.
They don't have computer lab. But they teach computers. So on the books.
Right.
So what happens? So having run head held high, making such a big impact, right? And seeing something which was impossible possible over the period of 15 years. So how do you see schooling evolving in the next, let's say, 5 years?
So Einstein said it beautifully. I think he said, I never let my college interfere with my education.
Yeah.
I think a lot of learning will happen outside the school. NEP is in that direction.
Correct.
Experiential learning, activity-based learning, right? Non-academic based learning. I think I see schools of the future as being experiential learning centers rather than teaching.
Correct.
Kids discover their passions. Kids discover the world around them. Kids discover how to solve problems, how to be change makers. And in that process, of course, you need to learn physics, chemistry, math, whatever, right? Example, Delhi government schools. My partners at GAME have been involved there.
Okay.
1 million students every day for the last 2 years have been learning entrepreneurial thinking as the first hour of the class in 1,000 schools.
Okay.
Government schools, where the first hour, there's no textbook. They go outside, meet customers, understand, bring a problem, solve it within the classroom.
Yeah.
The success stories of this is phenomenal.
Right.
Or take the happiness curriculum. Take the emotional curriculum. So I think education will become where students discover themselves through a variety of experiences. And then piece together the experiences to figure out what I want to do in my life.
Right.
And that's an evolving process.
Right. So according to you, so that evolution will definitely happen, in years to come. Because, I also believe that because, in the last 2 years, we, through our product, through Ulipsu, we have enabled at least about 100 schools unknowingly to upgrade their infrastructure. Because for somebody to use Ulipsu, they have to have a computer.
Correct.
So now they love Ulipsu. They want to implement it. Because of that, they upgraded computer lab.
Beautiful.
So whenever I keep telling my team that you are not just servicing the customer.
Exactly.
You're actually creating a very silent undercurrent.
Beautiful.
That is actually creating enabling
longer term change.
Yes, longer term change.
Exactly.
So that is something that I'm too proud of.
Lovely.
So probably the last question, Madan. So you conceptualized YuWaah. You conceptualized YuWaah, the body of UNICEF in India.
Yes.
So what are the goals of UNICEF for India, and how you can actually kind of relate it to younger generation, young minds.
Right. YuWaah itself was started out as a larger as an India part of Generation Unlimited. I was fortunate to be a strategic advisor to UNICEF, and I continue on the board of YuWaah. YuWaah's mission was simple. How do we visualize every child as a learner, as a lifelong learner? How do we make sure that every such lifelong or transformed learner is a job creator? How do we make sure that every such job creator is a change maker? So we think that education is all about learning. I think education is all about creating a better citizen and a better change maker for the world. So YuWaah has got a massive thing where we want to create 300 million change makers in the country.
300 million.
200 million learners.
Okay.
100 million entrepreneurs. All through a platform approach. And the last 3-4 years of YuWaah's journey has been phenomenal. We have touched more than about 50 million youth so far.
That's
through
fantastic.
Various initiatives.
Okay.
Right? On climate change, on being a change maker. We run a platform called Passports to Earnings, which is a learning platform for digital skills.
Okay.
Right? So, and it's all collaborative. It's not, YuWaah is a small team of 25-30 people, but we partner with hundreds of organizations and create a platform where everybody can collaborate.
Got it. So, Madan, one more thing. So, when our organization my startup took a different path. So, when the graph was increasing, right, I felt on that day that, I'm lacking something. And what is that lacking? That I had no formal financial education. Because of that, I was not able to make smarter financial decisions. From reading a P&L statement to understanding a capital budgeting or a cost benefit analysis. So that is something I was not able to do that well. Then I understood, okay, this is something that I have to pick up, and I invested a lot of time and effort to pick that up. And today I believe I'm fairly good at that. So likewise, so what is that one skill probably you had to pick up at some point of your life where it was not that easy to pick up, but you still picked up and adapted to it?
Several examples. I mean, to your point, I think every day is a new learning when you realize that, listen,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
Correct.
And you make changes. But if I were to look at something dramatic, I mean, I was thrown in the deep end when I went to Tokyo.
Okay.
Zero Japanese knowledge, zero knowledge of the Japanese culture, and I had a target to go sell so much year. What do you do, right?
It was a sales profession.
It was a sales profession. I had to
Okay,
go
okay.
meet customers.
Okay.
And nobody knew, 9 out of 10 sales calls, nobody knew English. So I literally had to figure out how do I learn enough Japanese and enough of the Japanese individual to be able to get a sales call done, right? And it was super challenging. Alone,
Yeah.
nobody there, not much of money to go around. And yet you had to step outside your comfort zone, be a one amongst them.
And I believe there were no translators back
There was
then.
no translators, no Google, nothing,
Nothing.
right?
Yeah.
It was the most challenging period, but I did manage to get a few customers, managed to build a few relationships,
You
right?
picked up Japanese?
I did pick up Japanese.
Okay.
I went, took some classes, went to free classes, learned some basic street level Japanese,
Right.
at least to get by.
Right. So, Madan, thank you very much. So, we had a fantastic conversation. It did
Absolutely.
feel like, it felt like, we both are just talking
It was
in a very
brilliant.
informal setting.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know that, I didn't think that, it would go this smooth. But fantastic, Madan. This is the first episode of We Are You. We Are You, as a name, we wanted to have this name because one is, yes, U stands for Ulipsu. And also, our end goal, or rather larger goal, is to build an organization so customer centric that customer always loves being with the
Beautiful, yeah.
organization. So that's why we say we are no one else, we are you.
Beautiful.
And that is how we think. So that's how also we want to be with our customers.
Lovely.
So this is the first episode of We Are You, and absolutely honored to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here, and also such a candid conversation about learning, entrepreneurship, and impact. We had a fantastic last 1.5 hours. Was amazing.
Thank you, Sumanth. It was a fantastic conversation. Never felt the time go by.
Yeah,
I'm sure we could have continued for a few more hours.
Yeah,
Thank you for hosting me. Thank you for having me as the first guest. And I think this is a phenomenal initiative.
thank you.
We Are You. I love the name. I think the objective that we must achieve, or you
Yeah.
must achieve, happy to be a role there,
Definitely.
is that this podcast or this series finally must lead to everyone saying you are we.
Okay.
It is not we are you.
Uh-huh.
The you are we comes in when there is the sense of community and the sense of collaboration that comes in, right?
Correct.
If everybody thinks not just of myself, but we,
Correct.
that's when the world becomes a better place. So my
Perfect.
wish is that you start with we are you, but
And
it should end with you are we.
fantastic. So that will be the goal. So thank you very much for that piece. I would love to have this kind of metaphors or challenges where we can chase one more thing.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So thank you very much, Madan.
Thank you.
So we'll keep interacting.
Absolutely.
So we are planning to host a lot of people from different walks of life who can come here and talk about 3 things: education, exploration, and inspiration.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, whoever watching this podcast, we want these 3 things to happen.
Sure.
Either they get educated,
Yep.
or they explore, or they get inspired. So that is the end goal.
And maybe it should all be and. They should get educated and explore and
That's again
inspired.
perfect. Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Madan.
Lovely. All the
Yes.
very best to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
How was it? Wasn't it smooth? I didn't feel like I was hosting Madan on a podcast. In fact, I felt like talking to an intelligent friend in a coffee shop. Because the amount of value he provided over this conversation is immeasurable. In fact, whenever I talk to Madan, I always feel like, there is so much more to learn. One thing that really amazed me, and even still amazes me, is how Madan spans himself into multiple ventures and multiple activities. So definitely this conversation, I believe, was educative, inspiring, and also explorative. So, VRU brings in such people from all the walks of life for you to get the value. And we will strive hard to get those people who will educate, inspire, and let you explore. This is Sumanth signing off once again from VRU.